This is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's Scrapbooking 101.5 lesson, we are going to talk templates. So this is different from a template that you would use with the custom cutting system and the blades that you slide around in the little track. This is a template that you actually have to trace and use your scissors to fiddly cut. Sometimes when you use a template, you don't have to do that. You can use your trimmer, which is really the preferred choice for me as far as a template goes. But the one I'm using today is going to go in my Ireland scrapbook. So you guessed it, it's the Shamrock one, which has lots of curves and nothing really on it that I can use my tools to cut other than the tools God gave me and my scissors. So we're going to and we're going to run through that. Really using a template like this does take a lot longer than we're going to have for one little 101.5 lesson. So what you're going to see are different phases in the process of using a template so that you can get an idea of how to do it, and you won't see any sped up areas or anything like that to watch the whole process. We're just going to do little tiny bits of the process as we go so that we can fit it into 15 or 20 minutes and not keep you here for forever. Okay, so let's check out my workspace. We'll get started and hopefully have a finished page we can show you at the end. All right, so this is an example of one of the Creative Memories templates. This is the Shamrock template. It came out in 2021 along with the National Scrapbook Day collection that you see represented here. The papers that they've used here were part of that collection, so you've probably seen me using some of these on my Ireland layouts that I've been doing. Templates tend to take a little bit more time than an average layout. They are fun to do every now and then. I find them fun to do, but they do take a little bit more time because you'll notice all of the different curvy shapes, or even the ones that look more like a quilt block that have more straight lines. It takes a little while to decide what you want where and how you want to do it, and then cut your shapes accordingly. But they do turn out really neat, so that's why I'm going to show you how to do this one. You do need a couple of things to make this a little bit easier, and since this one has so many curvy edges, we're going to be doing a lot of fiddly cutting, which I'm going to actually do off camera and then show you. But don't worry, you'll get the gist, okay? I have my precision point cutting scissors. These come to a very, very precise point out here. They're excellent for this type of cutting, and they're wonderful, so I highly recommend them. I have a white eraser. This is a dust-free special art eraser, which I prefer to use rather than wearing down my erasers on my pencils, although you can see this one is pretty significantly gone. I have, of course, a small pencil, and I have my repositionable and permanent adhesive. I have 3 pieces of paper. I have these 3 papers are all from the new Ireland collection or the theme pack that just came out recently, and so we're going to use these today to create this layout. One thing I wanted to point out really quick before I get too far is that on the cover of a template, you'll see a finished design, you'll see a picture of the template, and there are some of these lines that are colored blue, others are gray. I just wanted to point out that this sample right here, there's many different ways you can do a template. You can pick and choose which pieces you want to include on your design. And so they're just showing you with the blue lines exactly which pieces they used in this layout. And the one down here is a different layout because they've added pieces and they've changed the way they did it. So they have a different diagram here, same template, but they outlined all the pieces that they used in this layout here. All right, so in case that was confusing to you, I just wanted to clear that up. Also, one of the first things that I do when I get a template is I flip over the cover sheet and I take a dark pen, not a pencil, although you can do it in a pencil if you want to, but I generally will use a pen, and I outline the stencil on the back of the cover sheet. All right, and that's going to help me later when I am cutting pieces so that I know where the pieces go on my layout. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. Then what you do after you have done this, and after you have decided what papers you're going to use where, I actually went in, and I'm not sure you can see this on camera, but I penciled in right on my sheet which papers I want to use where, so that I can make sure that I follow the plan that I have in my head. Okay. I hope that makes some kind of sense. So hopefully it will. Then what you do is you kind of set this piece aside, not totally aside, you still want to be able to reference it, so I'm just setting it kind of to the side on my table. You have these clips that come in sets of 4. I just happen to have quite a few because I've ordered a few and people have given some to me. Anyway, but these are handy for holding your stencil onto your design so that it doesn't shift when you are trying to trace it. Okay, and one thing that I would highly recommend, just because you will go crazy trying to erase all the lines, especially in a template like this with lots of swirly pieces, is that you flip it over and trace it backwards on the paper that you want to use. So I am going to use this plaid paper for most of my shamrock, and so I'm going to flip it to the other side, and we're going to trace it on this back side for a couple of reasons. One is because it is easier, I won't have to erase all the pencil that I don't cut off. And 2 is because this side of the paper is lighter than the other side, and so I'll be able to see my pencil marks much easier, and I won't go quite so crazy with trying to find them. Okay, so you put these clips on to hold the stencil in place so that it does not shift. I mentioned that already. And we're just going to, if you have 4, then I recommend that you put them on 2 sides so that you can if you're working with photographs, you can slip them underneath. We're not working with photographs though at this point in time, so I'm going to go ahead and secure mine in a couple of other places so that way I can just ensure that it is good to go. Okay, so we're gonna put this down, and I'm gonna just take my pencil. I'm gonna trace all the pieces. Okay, so I'm gonna hold it down with my finger because the pieces that are in the middle can move. The idea is that you want as accurate a line as possible. So you want to try to keep everything still. My template moved. Okay, so I have now traced all the pieces that I need from this particular paper. So I'm going to take my template off, and then we'll be ready to cut. So I did go ahead and cut or trace these pieces, but I actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to need to erase these and flip my template the other direction so that it'll be right, because I want this side of the paper up to do these pieces. So okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fiddly cut this, and then we'll come back and do some more of the pieces that we're going to do for this. All right, so there is our cute shamrock. It's going to go on this page as the base. So it's going to go on there like about like that. And I'm just setting it on there for you to be able to see it. Okay, now I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to use my template again and trace these other pieces that I want from with this paper side up rather than the plaid. And so that means I'm going to flip my template back over, and a good way of knowing which side is up is always look for the Creative Memories stamp that's down here in the corner, and if you can read it, then that's the way that you need to use it. Okay, so keep it with the reading side up, and that's the, you know that that's the top. That way, if you flip it around a few times, you don't get confused, because sometimes that can happen very easily. Okay, so now I'm going to just take these other pieces, and I'm just going to fit them in wherever I can, make sure that I have paper that will allow for them, and then trace these. And I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful when I trace these, because I'm tracing the pattern right on top of the paper. It's that one, so I need this one now. Let's see if we can get this one out of this side. Oh yeah, that'll fit nice. Okay. All right, so I'm going to cut all of these pages out, and then I'll show you what I do that helps me keep everything straight. Okay, so now what we do is, or what I do, is I come back in here. Now I'm not quite done cutting pieces, but I am getting there. And so I'm going to take my shamrock that I've cut, and I haven't finished cutting my shamrock, I just realized. So hold the phone. One more thing. Okay, one thing I want to point out is that when you are fiddly cutting, each time you finish a piece, you set it on top of your template, the traced template or your regular template. But if you haven't cut or traced all your pieces for your regular template, that's where this one comes in handy, because you can just set the pieces on here and know exactly where they go. I also wanted to mention while I'm doing this that as you are, if you're not confident in the way that you cut, just take it slow. This is not, doing a template page is not something that's going to be quick. And if you just accept that going into the project, then you will be so much happier, because you just take your time. This is not a fast one. It's not meant to be fast. It's meant to be something that you take care to do. So, and you'll notice as I'm cutting these, especially these curves, I'm guiding my paper with my left hand, or the hand that's not got my scissors in it. I'm guiding my paper with that hand so that my right hand that's holding my scissors doesn't have to do all the work. I can just keep it stable, and I don't cut all the way to the end of my scissors each time either. I cut to about 1/4 of an inch at the end of my scissors. That's a habit that I got into with my mom taught me that, because in sewing projects you don't cut to the end of your scissors either, and that will help you keep a smoother line and not have a big chunk where the scissors came together at the end. You know how it sometimes cuts like an extra chunk out of whatever you're cutting when you get to the very tip of your scissors. So to avoid that, you also just don't cut all the way to the end of your scissors. Okay, now we have a few more pieces that we need to cut. So I'm going to use this blue to cut these corner pieces. And I haven't yet decided about this middle piece right here, but I think it might end up being this same plaid. I'm not sure. So we'll see. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and trace these corner pieces on the blue. And in order to do that, I'm going to do the same thing I did to do the shamrock part. We're going to trace it on the opposite side of the paper, because look, this is so nice and pale. I'll be able to see my pencil marks. Okay, so this is the correct way for my stencil to go. I know it's hard to see on this light paper, but I'm going to flip it over so it's upside down so that my corners are right, even though they are right angles and stuff. This one would be tricky to correct if I traced it wrong. So and in an effort to save some of my paper, I'm actually going to try to conserve it. Since these are mostly straight angles, I'm just going to trace it. I also want my pattern, sorry, I'm not making any sense. Give me just a second. Okay, so I want my pattern to be continuous. So every time I trace these two, whether it's right in front of the other or not, I want these two, the patterns, to be continuous, the pattern in the paper. So it really doesn't matter if it's turned or not, but I want the pattern to be the same for the corner. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to line this up like this. We did that corner, we're doing this one. Okay. So we started with the words, then we're rotating to the one above the words. Okay, now I'm going to turn this, and we're going to do, so there's ways that I can cut this, I think, and not use quite so much paper. Let's try this way. So there's that one, and then these two are going to be just kind of their own animal here. We're going to just sort of try to squeeze them in. Okay, so like that. Alright, and I'm messing up my pieces over here. Sometimes I just go ahead and give these pieces a little bit of repositionable adhesive on the back, and I stick them to my page temporarily. And that works well most of the time. Okay, now we're going to fiddly cut these, so I'll be back in a second. Alright, now I have all my pieces cut and I'm ready to assemble my page. So I'm going to take my base page, which is going to be this one right here. I'm going to take my template. I'm going to read Creative Memories at the bottom so I know that it is going the right direction. I'm going to take my cute little clips and I'm going to adhere my template to my paper or to my page. If you're doing this directly on a page, then you would definitely want to clip this directly to your page. Okay, and I'm just gonna, because I have them available, I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 on each side, just because it'll hold it that much better. Keep it in the same place. Now, when you have a template like this, you can do a lot of different varieties of things. So please don't feel like if you have a template, if you're using a template, you are locked into doing exactly the design that's on the template, because that's not true. You can cut photos into these shapes. You can cut all kinds of different versions of this. Where you add these little pieces, which I actually didn't cut. I didn't cut this little piece, this little piece, this little piece, or this one. But you could if you wanted to, and that would be okay. I'm going to start with my bigger piece right in the middle, and we're going to adhere that first. So, and I'm just going to use some repositionable adhesive because there's lots of little tiny bits of this that need to go on. I want them all to stay where I put them. Some of them are whiter than others. Some of them not so white at all. Okay, so by having the template here, I can ensure that I'm lining everything up just the way it needs to be, and I can lay that right down on top. And if I've cut it fairly accurately, then I should be able to have it fall right into place. Now, of course, since I'm on camera, this one's not falling right into place, but it's pretty close. And I can lift up my template and just lay it right down over the top, just to ensure that all is well. Okay, I'm going to grab that. It's just so I can make sure that's laying down nice and flat. Okay, so push down the adhesive everywhere. Lovely. Okay, now I'm going to come back in, so I'm just going to leave those 2 off just in case I need to lift it up again. I'm going to come back in and I'm going to go ahead and place these. Now, these have points. You can see the points similar to like if I had done a triangle. So I'm going to make sure I put plenty of adhesive all the way out to the tip. That's why I love the repositionable adhesive. It works really well for that. I'm going to line up the center point where it needs to go, and then where the rest of it goes is fine. As long as this center is lined up for this shamrock, then it really doesn't concern me where the rest of it goes. Now my margins are a little bit wide on that one, but that's the way it is. Each of these is unique, and sometimes, especially the ones that have more squared up pieces, it really does look like you made a quilt square on your page, which is really cool. I have a mother-in-law who is an awesome quilter, and she makes some amazing things. And so, in fact, she was just here this morning with me scrapbooking, and she said, you know, it's really funny how similar scrapbooking is to quilting. She's right. It really is quite similar. Okay, so I'm just going to line that piece up. I'm going to lift this up to make sure all those little bits are down where they should be. There we go. Then we're going to go with this one. Now this is just a process from here on out of adhering all the little pieces that you cut in the right places. I should get out one of my silicone mats. I can hear you guys saying, why are you doing that on your desktop? Yeah, because I'm silly this morning. A silicone mat would save me from having to wipe everything down, wouldn't it? Okay. Going to reattach that one because I'm going to need to lift one of these up over here. Just a sec. All right, I'm going to take this one. I don't know how I'm doing on time, since there was so much that we're probably skipping in this video so that we can get it all in and help you without you having to watch for hours. So we may skip to the end of this just so that in the interest of time. So if we do, I apologize if you feel like you wanted to see all of this part. All right, we're going to do all of these. All right, so that's all of our pieces. So we're going to take off our template carefully, just in case any of the edges catch. And there is our page. Now, with a design like this, as I was mentioning before, you can cut your photos so that they fit into a shape on your template, or you can just do square. You can just align your photos however you want. So you'll see how here in this one they just cut a circle and made her the focal point of that entire layout. Or you can put more than one photo like you have down here, where they've just kind of overlapped the corners of the photos and staggered them down just a little bit. I don't have any photos that I know for sure are going to go on this page just yet, but you will definitely see this page show up in my album at some point in time. So keep your eye out and we'll see where it goes. Generally, when I do a special page like this, that's just a single page, because you guys know I like 2-page spreads. But when I do just a single page like this, it will generally show up as like the last page or a title page. And I've already done the title pages for my Ireland albums, or for the number of albums I think I'm going to have for the Ireland series. So this may show up as a last page. I'm not sure. We'll see where it fits. But keep your eye out for it, and you'll recognize it when you see it. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope this has been helpful to you. And yeah, don't be afraid of templates. They are fun. They just do take a little bit of your time and a little bit of tender, loving care to create. All right? Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Make it a great day.